Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me, excited because week 2 is over, which means we get to do another power rankings tier list. We've got some movers, we've got some shakers, and we've got some money makers this week on the rankings. Now, before we rank, guys, I want to talk about something called the algorithm. The more this video is liked, commented, and subscribed to, the more YouTube thinks people enjoy it, pushes it out, helps me grow my channel. Here's my goal. We're sitting at 450 subscribers. I'd love to hit 500 by the time this here candle burns out. And if you can't tell, guys, we are close. I mean, look at this. Look at this sucker, right? We only got like this much wax left. 500 subscribers, baby. Run it up before this thing runs down. Let's get ranking. As always, these are how we rank teams. At the top here in the S tier, we have Super Bowl conversation. Next, we have comfy playoffs, teams that should make the playoffs fairly easily. We have the category. These are the probable wild card, just missed it teams. We have the 6-11 teams I think will end at that record or one game away. And of course, wins the draft. Now, at the end of this video, I will go through and I will throw a highlight on all of these teams to show where they've moved, so stay tuned for that as well. Starting with the Cardinals, 2 tough losses, and they were in both of these games, although the opponents were not good, so I think we have to just accept that they are playing for a draft pick. The Falcons are a surprise 2-0 team. I do think the Saints are the strongest team in the NFC South. I'm not completely sold on the Falcons yet, considering they did play the Panthers week 1, but the win against the Packers this week was huge. I'm going to put them in the category. The AFC North is a very tough division, even though the Bengals are kind of falling off, it seems, but I think the Ravens are a comfortable playoff team. The Bills got back on track in a big way. Again, I said last week I was not worried about them after the loss to the Jets. I'm really not worried about them now. After seeing Josh Allen get back on the train, we'll put him in comfy playoffs. I do think the Saints are a fantastic defensive team, and so the Panthers looked horrible last night on offense, but I think part of that is just not only Bryce Young getting adjusted, but the Saints being a strong competitor. However, I don't think that the Panthers win 6 games this year, wins the draft. I know the Bears have kind of been the laughing stock of the internet. Justin Fields, would you like fries with that type of meme energy? I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I may get some pushback, but I do think they find a way to win 6 games. The Joe Burrow injury news is huge. If he misses more than 3 games, this may be a 6-11 team. However, again, I'm going to cut them a little slack. I'm going to put them in the category. I think they can rebound after these 2 losses. They can find a way. They just face 2 divisional opponents. Let's get outside the division. Let's get some wins. Let's build some momentum. I think the Bengals will be fine. The Browns lost last night, but they looked okay. That Nick Chubb injury is going to be tough, although Jerome Ford picked up the slack nicely. However, I'm going to throw them in the category just because their division is so strong. While the Cowboys have played 2 New York teams this year who have not looked great, I do think they've been dominant in both of these games. So, again, Super Bowl conversation for me with the Cowboys. After watching Russell Wilson for 10 years with the Seahawks, for some reason this man gets a thrill out of playing in close games. They were up 21 points. I realize he doesn't play defense, but they didn't keep the pressure on, the foot on the gas. They lose the game, up 20 points. I think the Broncos are a 6-11 team. The Lions beat the Chiefs on the road in week 1 and then lose to the Seahawks at home. I still think they win that division fairly easily. We'll go ahead and throw them in comfy playoffs. I still don't know what to do with the Packers. Week 1 win against the Bears. Is that more about the Bears or the Packers? They come into Atlanta, they lose. We'll put them in, I think they're better than 6-11, but I don't think a cakewalk is coming for the playoffs. It's a rebuilding year in Houston. Wins the draft. While Gardner Minshew came in and looked solid, Anthony Richardson, I believe, is the real deal. He's a playmaker. He's smart with the ball. Colts at 6-11, I think, is a conservative estimate. I know the Jaguars are 1-1, but that division is a cakewalk, and I think they are the most dominant team within that division. Give me comfy playoffs. After watching the Chargers struggle on defense 2 straight weeks in a row, the injury to Austin Eckler, I think it opens up a pretty wide lane for the Chiefs to dominate this division for another year. Comfy playoffs for the Chiefs. I don't know the stat exactly, but the Chargers have scored some of the most points for an 0-2 team in NFL history. They've got to correct it. Again, like I said, Austin Eckler being injured is quite a downside for this team. I think they're still better on paper than 6-11, so I'm going to put them in the category, but I'm willing to change that as the weeks continue. I don't really know what to say about the Rams. They beat Seattle, and they somewhat competed against the Niners last week. I feel like it'd be too disrespectful to put them at 6-11. This is a team that may win 8 games. I'm going to put them at 6-11. I think the Raiders do just enough to win 6 games this year. I'm not completely sold on the Dolphins. I know a lot of people in the next few weeks are probably going to be mentioning the Super Bowl. Maybe it's pride, okay? Maybe it's stubbornness. I think they make the playoffs comfortably, but I'm not quite ready, again, to put them in Super Bowl conversations. I believe in the Vikings, and that's probably going to come back to bite me. They've had 2 close calls, 2 straight weeks. I'm not going to put them at 6-11 because I do think they can win 8 and 9 games, even though it doesn't look that way so far. Give me the category for the Vikings. The Patriots have shown promise this year, but at 0-2 in a tough division, I think it's going to be tough for them to get over 6-11 for the Patriots. I watched the Saints game last night, and I felt something deep within about Derek Carr. I don't watch him a bunch, but last night he was so vanilla, boring. Just drops back, 1 read slowly, 2 read slowly, overthrow, sack, off the target. I don't know if he's the guy. Jamal Williams is out. Kendre Miller is out. Alvin Kamara comes back, I believe, in week 4. But they are in a cupcake division, and I think their defense is going to lead them to the promised land. Comfy playoffs for the Saints. The Giants battle back from a horrendous defensive performance in the first half. Win on the road in Arizona. I still don't think they get to 6 wins this year, so give me wins the draft for the Giants. I'm still torn on the Jets. I know Zach Wilson has been there a while, and he's no slouch. I know their defense is good, but I just cannot see them winning 5 games this year, even though they already have notched 1 win. So give me wins the draft, but understand that I can see them going 5-12. Am I wrong for putting the Eagles outside of Super Bowl conversation? I know everybody's high on them, but I've not been totally convinced. A couple of close games. They have bright spots, but they also have some weaknesses. Comfy playoffs, I think, is in the horizon. They're going to get a wild card, or they're going to get a wild card from the NFC East. But ultimately, I am not ready to just throw the Eagles into the Super Bowl talks. Is Kenny Pickett legit? Are we going to have to start respecting this offense and the weapons they have? After last night against the Browns, they were a 2-point underdog in that game. I'm going to put them in the category because I think they're better than the Falcons. I think they're, I can't put them in 6-11. I put the Browns up here, okay? So I don't like it, all right? I actually hate it, but I'll respect them after last night. Let's do it. Seattle takes a tough loss at home against the Rams, but then goes on the road and beats the Lions, who just beat the Chiefs. So by the transitive property, Seattle just beat the Super Bowl winner from last year. Put him in the category. Again, my pride and stubbornness does not want me to do this, but the Niners are going to win the NFC West easily, probably by 2 games, which puts them with that defense, with the weapons they have on offense, in the Super Bowl conversation. The Buccaneers are 2-0, quietly. Mike Evans has been balling out. Baker Mayfield has been making smart decisions. The defense has done what they need to do. I don't want to move my photo. I don't want to move my head, right? So I want to pop them right here where it makes perfect sense. But fine, you know what? I'll do it. I'll move my head and I'll throw them in the category because they've earned it. I think the Titans are boring. I don't think they have enough to get into the wild card. They're an injury or 2 away from being irrelevant. I think they're probably a 7-win team, 8-win team. So We'll put them at 6 and 11, and we are willing to move them up if need be. Washington's division is tough. You know what? Fine. I'm not even going to make the argument. 6 and 11, they got to win. They'll find a way to win 6. So taking a look here at the movement from last week, yellow denotes that they have had no change, green means they've moved up, and red means they've moved down. So my Super Bowl conversation stays the same. I realize I'm going to have to pop an AFC team in here at some point, but I'm not ready to do so yet. The Bills, the Saints, and the Chiefs all prove something to me this week, so I think we go from with them up to comfy playoffs. The Dolphins, the Ravens, the Lions, the Jags, and the Eagles see no change. For the category, I think the Falcons deserve some talk. So let's move them up from 6 and 11, as well as the Steelers and the Seahawks. I think they can overcome that 6 and 11 benchmark score, and they can get to 500 and be in wildcard talks. Moving down from comfy playoffs, we have the Bengals and the Chargers. I had them up one spot last week, but again, there are too many question marks for both of these teams. Injuries to star players and just overall pathetic performances in the first 2 weeks for me to really feel like they are comfortable playoff teams. The Browns, the Packers, the Vikings, and the Buccaneers stay in the category. And again, I recognize I may be too high on the Vikings. Willing to move that down next week. At 6 and 11, we have no change to the Bears, the Broncos, the Colts, the Raiders, and Washington. However, we have 3 teams joining this category who were higher last week. The Rams moved down, and I realize maybe unfair since they played a Super Bowl contender this week. Patriots moved down, and Titans moved down. Maybe some bias in these. All of these teams played solid other teams, so I may be too critical, but nonetheless, I've already marked it with highlighter. What do you think I'm going to do? Go back and erase it? Because I'm not. Wins the draft. We see no change to the Cardinals, the Texans, and the Giants. We moved down the Panthers, and we moved the Jets down 2 spots. That's why they're so heavily red here. I had them in the category last week after their win against Buffalo, but I just am not. I'm probably too critical, but hey, again, I'm not erasing it. So the Jets are going to be playing for a draft spot. Put in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong there. So, as always, guys, thank you for stopping by. We'll do this every week. Let me know in the comments what you agree with and disagree with, and we'll see you next time for Week 3's rankings.